It's week number 12, and we've got snow and 2 streaking teams in Bloomington, Minnesota. The Chargers are there, and they're carrying a 3-game win streak thanks to this overtime catch by John Jefferson last week. The Minnesota Vikings have won 4 in a row to climb to the top of the NFC Central. They'll be carrying Fran Tarkenton in with a hot passing game. Also, we've got the New England Patriots trying to rebound from a last-minute defeat against the Houston Oilers last week. They'll be going against the New York Jets team they trounced 2 weeks ago, but the Jets need a victory today to stay in playoff contention. And we've got the Steelers going against the Bengals, the Steelers with one of the league's hottest passers in Mr. Terry Bradshaw. All that, plus a look at what we think may be the coming thing in TV football, where you get to call the plays at home. All today on NFL 78. NBC Sports presents NFL 78, an inside look at professional football and a preview of today's games. Brought to you by Oldsmobile. Discover that great Olds feeling in a test drive today. And by Tuborg Gold. When you go for beer, go for the gold. Tuborg Gold. Good afternoon, everyone. Brian Gumble along with Mike Adamley welcoming you to NFL 78, week number 12. We've got a full lineup of games for you, 3 of them at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, starting with San Diego, Minnesota. We finish up our day with Cincinnati against Pittsburgh. And, Michael, last week we talked about parity, but now it's time for some teams to stand up and be counted.
Well, Brian, there are pretenders and there are contenders. Requires a great deal of preparation, not only on the part of the players, but the men behind the scenes as well, too. Cleveland's Tom Ryther followed the Browns to Kansas City and found out that a trip on the road is no ordinary undertaking.
I'm going to Kansas City, here I come. I'm going to Kansas City, here I come.
How much equipment, Chuck, do you have to load and get on that plane and get down to Kansas City?
We carry about 14 containers, of which consist 2.5 tons. Anywhere from the chin straps to the tees all the way up to the helmets and the shoulder pads. It's quite a job. It's quite a lot to do, but I've got 2 very, very fine helpers, and it's no way in the world that I could ever do it by myself.
Now, do they make the trips with you?
Yes, they do. Right.
How long does it take you to load everything in the boxes, then put it on the truck?
We start Monday and we end Saturday, packing, and we'll finally end up loading the truck on Saturday morning. The plane is loaded Saturday afternoon, and we're on our way.
How many helmets do you take, and shirts and pads?
Every player has to wear a helmet, so I've got to have a helmet for each guy. I've got an entire uniform for each player. Plus, for our special people like the quarterbacks, the backs, and receivers, I'll carry extra jerseys and possibly extra shoulder pads just in case one of theirs might break.
Experience is the best teacher. Have you ever been caught out on the road and suddenly, you know, hey, Chuck, where's this piece of equipment? It's not there.
We had an exhibition game down in Columbus with the Bengals about 5 years ago, and I forgot to bring the footballs with us.
George Patton might have had an easier time moving his tank divisions across Europe than an NFL team does when it moves its act on the road. Consider these numbers. In addition to the 2.5 tons of equipment, the 43 players that make the trip by plane are accompanied by an entourage of team personnel. 3 equipment men, 7 coaches, 3 trainers, sometimes the general manager, and a whole assortment of hangers-on.
If I have to walk, I'm going just the same. I'm going to Kansas City, here I come.
The pregame meal provides a variety of entrees for the players, but it can get to be a giant headache for the unsuspecting hotel kitchen. How about 100 sirloin steaks? Orthopedic surgeon who can look at x-rays, and it is estimated that some 5 miles of tape are used to keep players from falling apart. It would be nice if the fruits of this labor would result in victory, but in this day and age of parity, it doesn't always work that way. The Browns lost to Kansas City 17-3 and were left to ponder a very long ride home.
An instant replay timeout. And in overtime, they would get one, too. Cleveland Browns kick off. Let's help the officials rather than second-guess them. Here comes Anderson now. This play is called dead at this point, but there's no one touching it. And Anderson continues on for the Steelers. When he has struck a blow, he fumbles, and the Cleveland Browns recovered. But the officials gave the ball back to the Steelers. But what about Sandy Grossman out in Denver, our director today? Sandy, could we use the instant replay to help the officials?
What happens if, for instance, we lose our slow motion, and now we've got a timeout situation, everybody's waiting to see the replay, and for some unknown reason, the gremlin creeps in and we have no replay. That could create a few problems for you, couldn't it?
Yes, it could. Now, Sandy, if you lose the replay, can you still bring back the play-by-play? Basically, what we just saw was play-by-play, but we slowed it down. Would you have that capability?
Well, if we had videotape on the location, we probably could. Right now, the way we're set up facility-wise, we do not have that capability. You know, it would mean extra equipment. The other problem you've got, Brent, every once in a while, we do have the best replay you could possibly have and show exactly what went on. But, you know, a difference of a couple yards in an angle might show a fumble to be loose in one occasion, and yet it's not the perfect angle to call a play on.
Sandy, what I'm proposing, though, is that only your picture be used. We don't try to wire in every stadium. In other words, a game on Monday night, which is covered by more cameras because ABC only has one game a week and we've got dozens to cover on 2 Sundays. Of course, they have more cameras. And in a playoff game, there are more cameras. But at the moment of truth, late in the game, like we had last year, we had in the New England-Baltimore game, we had in the Denver-Oakland game, those are the kind of plays that I think erode the credibility of the officials, and we can help them. But apparently you disagree.
Well, I kind of agree with you, Brent. I think an official up in the booth that might have the output of our truck would probably help the situation. I think he even should be able to override the officials on the field. If he saw a replay that was blatantly wrong on the call by the officials, why not let him override the officials on the field?
Okay. Hey, Sandy, you're really dressed up today. Tell everybody, you don't dress like that normally when you direct a game. You got a T-shirt and Levi's. How come you look so good today?
It's not every day we have visitors like you in the truck, Brent.
Hey, what's the weather like out in Denver?
It is beautiful.
Oh.
It is just a cool, crisp, pleasant day, and you'll see later on we'll have some pretty shots of the mountains for you, and it's a great day out here in Denver.
All right, we'll check in with you later. Thanks a lot, Sandy. Okay, now let's turn our attention to the NFL Player of the Week as voted by the pro football writers, and for that, let's go to Irv Cross.
All right, Ben, of course, there wasn't any controversy in New England against Houston last week, and Dan Passerini, for his role as executor of the best comeback in recent history, is the pro football writer's choice of Schick Player of the Week. Houston's situation appeared hopeless. The Oilers trailed 23-0 and then 23-7 at halftime to the powerful New England Patriots. But Passerini simply spent the second half completing 12 of 19 passes for 155 yards, converting 8 of 11 third down plays and throwing for the winning touchdown with 2:39 left in the game. The final score, Houston 26, the Patriots 23, and Passerini becomes the Player of the Week. And with that win, the Oilers now have a record of 7 wins and 4 losses to remain second in the American Football Conference Central Division, trailing the Pittsburgh Steelers by simply 2 games.
The Detroit Lions on this Sunday afternoon are out in Oakland for a game against the Raiders. We've got a major story developing with the Raiders. Jane Kennedy was out there earlier this week. Back with that as the NFL Today continues on CBS in just a moment.
The Atlanta Falcons travel to Chicago to meet the Bears today, where Tim Ryan and Johnny Morris are covering that game for us. And, John, you've been one of the most severe critics out there as to the way the Bear coaching staff has been using Walter Payton. Why?
Well, I wouldn't say a critic, but maybe it made some suggestions. They've been using Walter quite a bit in the regular pro set where he's running his end runs parallel to the line of scrimmage. It's kind of hard for him to look upfield. Last week, they finally put him back in the I formation where they had so much success last year, where he's lined up 7 yards deep into the end and to the backfield, and when he takes off on his end runs, he can cut back, upfield, cut around. He can see his field of vision is much better, and it turned out to be very successful for the Bears in the second half against Minnesota last week. However, it was too late. They lost that game. They're hoping to get that running game going again.
Well, Johnny, you know, the Bears have lost 8 straight games. The Falcons have lost 5 straight. What's the Falcons story? They're really that hot?
Well, the Falcons, as you know, that Big Ben play they had last week to beat New Orleans, the Falcons have the longest winning streak in the NFL right now, while the Bears have the longest losing streak, so something's got to give. The Falcons have been very tough on defense. They forced 38 fumbles and recovered 21 of them. It's kind of cold here at Soldier Field today. I'd say about 30 degrees, and it's going down into the 20s, so it's going to be kind of cold. And I have a hunch that that aggressive Atlanta defense is going to try and knock that ball loose from Walter Payton and set up some stuff for the offense, because the Atlanta offense needs some help. They're 14th in the NFC, and they haven't been moving the ball all that well, but in the last few games they've moved it when they've needed to, and of course Barkowski came on very strong last week, so it should be a good game.
All right, Johnny, thanks a lot, and keep that coat on and stay warm.
Okay, I'll try.
All right, and standing by down in Dallas, of course, Frank Gleaver and Sonny Jurgensen. Sonny's on the field right now. We got two marvelous quarterbacks down there, and that is not Sonny Jurgensen. Look at that, Roman Gabriel. Hey, Roman, what about Roger Staubach and Archie Manning? I was kidding him on his sideline. Can you hear me down there now, Roman?
All right, Brent, we're expecting a big shootout here in Dallas. We have the #1 passer in Archie Manning, New Orleans Saints, in the NFC. We also have the #2 passer with the Dallas Cowboys, Roger Staubach, with 19 touchdown passes, leading the NFC. Both also bring an added dimension to the game. They're both scramblers, both runners, very tough. And I look for a fine football game. And if both of these guys get untracked early, no telling what the score can be.
Hey, Roman, you really do look like you're in better shape than Sonny Jurgensen. Could you ever come back and play quarterback right now for somebody?
You know, I thought about that because I'm in fantastic condition, but when I wake up on Mondays and feel so good, they can take this game and let the young guys have it.
All right, Roman, thank you. We got so many quarterbacks out there. I can't tell one from the other. Let's see, where is Meredith? Oh, he's down in Houston, right? Hey, last time I saw you, Jane, you were headed out to Oakland to talk to Dave Casper. What happened?
It started out that way. However, I didn't get a chance to talk to Dave. As a matter of fact, he was sick that day, and he probably will not be playing much of today's game. And I did get to talk to Gene Upshaw. As a matter of fact, I got a Raiders' eye view of what's happening up in Oakland.
Very interesting. The left side of that Raider offensive line, when they go to open up a hole, it's like a whole wall comes apart with Upshaw over there.
It's been a strange year for the Oakland Raiders. The team's tied for first, yet they've been inconsistent. Ken Stabler has thrown a whopping 23 interceptions and ranks a lowly 12th among the AFC quarterbacks. Some blame the snake, others his receivers, but many are pointing a finger to the offensive line, which has two newcomers on one side and two old pros on the other. Are they slowing down? To find out, I talked to the Raiders captain, all-pro guard, Gene Upshaw. Gene, the Raiders are in first place, but it seems as if they're struggling. Why is that?
I don't really believe that our football team is struggling. I just believe that the competition in the league has gotten a lot better, and by no means are we struggling. And, you know, we've been able to pull off a few close games, but we are not able to get those one-sided scores like everyone, you know, used to seeing Oakland do. We've been ahead in several games, and we've had to try to maintain and hold on, but we always feel like we have the ability to come from behind, and the game is not over until there's no time on the clock. So we try to win every football game, and if we have to come from behind, we'll do that.
What's wrong with Kenny Stabler? He's got 23 interceptions already, and the coaches say it's not his fault.
It's not his fault. Quite naturally, in any interception, there are plays in there where the quarterback might get sacked, where the ball's a tip, where the receivers are not running correct routes, and there are times when he's not throwing the ball correctly. So it's a combination of a lot of things that cause interception, and the quarterback always gets the fault when there is an interception. All we have to do right now is win 5 football games, and we feel like we're in a 5 football game season, and that's what we want to do. We want to win 5, and if we win 5, we'll be where we want to be at the end of the season.
Gene, what are you looking to do when you pull out on the sweep?
It's always nice to get out on the sweep and run over those little defensive backs, and I tell you, they hate to see a big guy coming around the corner. When you look at them as you're pulling, they sort of don't know which way to go, so you do get a chance to get hard hits.
Yeah, it's sort of nice when you turn the corner and you look into that defensive back's face, and he looks a little frightened because he's got 260 pounds running at him, and you don't know which way to go. Eyes look like a silver dollar.
38!
I love running over defensive backs. That's what they pay me to do.
Oh, I believe him, too.
You know, it's strange when they talk about everybody hitting hard and everybody tries to hide it, you know, but he comes right out and says it.
You should see Irv Cross over here wince when he says, I want to run over those small defensive backs. We'll be back with Irv, who spent part of last week out in Denver, as the NFL Today continues on CBS in just a moment. The nation's capital is stunned. The St. Louis Cardinals have just gone ahead of the Redskins, 21-0. Start of the second quarter.
Then, of course, Jim went out and talked to the Oakland Raiders, who were tied for first place in the National American Football Conference Western Division with the Denver Broncos, a record of 7 wins and 4 losses. When I asked Coach Miller the difference between this year's club and last year's team, he said it was simply 3 field goals. Had we gotten them, we'd be 10-1 now instead of 7-4.
And, of course, they are coming up with our key doubleheader game, Green Bay and Denver, later.
This season, the Denver Broncos' Rocky Mountain High has had its share of Death Valley lows because the Broncos have been inconsistent, alternating victories and defeats over the last 7 weeks, and they still have several difficult games to win if they hope to retain their division championship. Beginning today with Green Bay, who, like Denver, is in a battle for first place in their division. Despite the fact that today's game is extremely important, Denver head coach Red Miller approaches it with a relaxed attitude.
We know when to, you know, tighten it down and get the work done. But I think that if you create an unhealthy atmosphere of too much tightness and tension around your team, I think you take away from the wholesome atmosphere that you have to win. We want everybody wanting to play and, hey, let's go. But, you know, the difference between this year and last year, we ended up 12-2. We won 3 games in the last final play of the game. Kansas City, San Diego, etc. This year, with 3 field goals, we're 10-1.
It's a matter of inches, I guess, isn't it? Okay. To a large degree, Denver's ultimate placement in the standings will be determined by their defense, one that last season was good enough to carry the Broncos into the Super Bowl. The man in the middle of all this is number 53, Randy Gradishar, perhaps the best inside linebacker in pro football. Gradishar covers the short passing zones while averaging an incredible 16 tackles a game. A big reason why Denver's version of the 3-4 defense has allowed the fewest points in the American Conference. Gradishar explained to me why it works so well.
The one thing that we can do from the 34 defense is give them multiple looks. You have different linebackers changing around different positions. You have defensive linemen jumping back and forth, and I think as an offensive ball player, if I saw a lot of people jumping back and forth, giving different looks, that would tend to confuse me a little bit. And when you can get in there and blitz and knock him down and pull him down, he a lot of times tends to think of you coming in there instead of concentrating on his receivers and throwing the ball.
Well, Irv, I think Randy Gradishar is playing the position as well as anybody has played it. He's a backbone of our team. He's just a tremendous leader in his own quiet way. He's not a fire guy, but he does the job.
Well, traveling is not so bad if you do it with your teammates, but when you are traded, it can be a very difficult adjustment. Not so with Delvin Williams. He spent 4 years in San Francisco. Now he leads the entire NFL in rushing, and he has found himself a home in Miami.
When I made the trade for Delvin Williams, I felt I was getting a complete back. I gave up a lot to make the deal, but in Delvin Williams, we got more than we expected to get.
I'd like to think of myself as being the type of player that can do everything that's asked in terms of pass receiving, in terms of blocking, and also running. So I work towards doing all phases of my game.
The marriage between Delvin Williams and our offensive line has been something to behold. We've always felt that we have one of the best offensive lines in football. You got to be tough down the middle, and then Langer and Kuchenberg and Larry Little, and of course now Ed Newman and Mike Curran. We think that we have an excellent offensive line.
I tend to like to follow my blocking and wait on things to materialize and take the hold. I think quickness and speed has been my biggest asset. The #1 goal, I guess, for myself and for everybody on the team is to get in the playoffs. There are individual things in my mind that I would like to accomplish, but I've always felt if we do well as a team, the individual things will come.
Another thing that impresses me about Delvin is the fact that he's very unselfish. You never hear him talking about personal goals. You hear him talking about team goals, and I think our team respects him for this, and he's become more a part of our football team because of this attitude that he has.
For Del Williams and the Dolphins, 78 has been a glorious season, but not so for some other teams. Case in point being the Cincinnati Bengals. They are 1-10 on the season, and in Pittsburgh today, they're playing in a stadium where they've never won. Tom Kelly has a report on some other problems the Bengals face.
Some of Cincinnati's $10 patrons have retained a sense of humor, but when 5 of 7 Monday night turnovers led to Raider touchdowns, there were few post-game chuckles. Rookie Deacon Turner's first quarter fumble grabbed by Neil Colsey, a 32-yard score and a 6-0 lead. Just 4 plays later, Ken Anderson fired a strike to another of Cincinnati's 13 first-year players, but Don Bass was stripped of the ball by safety Mike Davis. And that set up Ken Stabler's 5-yard touchdown toss to Raymond Chester. 13-0 lead. While Oakland's old men look to the playoffs, Cincinnati's head man must find the patience to deal with inexperience.
It's a tough thing for a young player when something happens to him to lose his confidence right off, and then to regain it is a tough thing.
While the offense has struggled, Homer's defense is aggressive and accomplished. Confidence is not a problem for kids like Ross Browner.
You always go into a contest trying to win, and then when you lose, you know, you're always that sour taste in your mouth. So really, you know, we know the reasons why we're losing, you know, a couple of bad calls and then a couple of missed assignments and little things like that, you know, in the course of the game that made us lose like that. So really, if you try to iron all those things out, I think we would win all those games that we lost.
It's tough to keep a secret when you're 1-10. A couple have leaked out. Consider them. Homer Rice, expected to be back next year, though it's not official. And Charles Alexander, a strong young running back who would make a team like Cincinnati a pretty good man to build around. For NFL 78, Tom Kelly from Cincinnati.
Well, the Bengals making Alexander their top draft choice is, of course, speculation, but if they want a running back, Alexander's not the only candidate coming out, Mike.
Brian, how about Theodis Brown, a man with size and speed, and also Tony Nathan from Alabama? He'd be a great choice.
Well, the Bengals-Steelers, just one of many kickoffs we've got in store for you today. We're moments away from a lot of kickoffs. NFL 78 goes down on the field right after this commercial break.
Mickey's 50. And all of Hollywood is celebrating. Then the legendary stories and the real people who lived them. Greatest Heroes of the Bible on 4 spectacular nights. Mickey's Birthday, followed by Greatest Heroes of the Bible Part 1, tonight.
NFL 78 continues from Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City as the Seattle Seahawks go against the Kansas City Chiefs. And today, a quarterback matchup of the veteran Mike Livingston of Kansas City. He comes off a strong game, although in defeat in overtime last week against San Diego. Matched up with Jim Zorn of Seattle, the AFC's top passer, the young man who has become a folk hero in Seattle. Hi, everybody. I'm Marv Albert along with Paul McGuire, and we say that Livingston comes off a strong game. In fact, Paul, Kansas City has played well over the last 4 games. However, the bottom line, they've won only 1 of those games. They are 2 up and 9 down, while Seattle comes in at 5-6, and they come off a tough loss at the hands of the oncoming Baltimore Colts. And Seattle now with that record of 5 up and 6 down with that very impressive offense. We talk about quarterback Jim Zorn and, of course, Steve Largent. And a running back who many people around the country are not that familiar with at this point, although out in Seattle they are well familiar with this guy, David Sims.
Well, David Sims, he leads the National Football League in touchdowns, and they're all rushing. And if Kansas City really wants to stay in this football game today, they have to stop this man. David Sims, a good football player, and runs very well with the football, as it's obvious because of the 10 touchdowns.
Kansas City also has another problem. Talk about the running game of Sims in tandem with number 47, Sherman Smith, but that other problem is number 80. Bum Phillips of Houston traded away Steve Largent a couple of years ago, says it's the worst trade he ever made.
For him, not for Seattle. Now, Seattle, here's a man that's caught 46 passes, but I think the thing that's most impressive is that it's over a 17-yard average. He also has 5 touchdowns. He's an excellent football player, good receiver. I like to see this man catch the ball because he can catch in a crowd, and he doesn't worry about being hit.
Seattle as many of you are aware, a high-powered offense, team of the future. They have really done extremely well for an expansion club. And from the Kansas City point of view, it will be a tremendous chore for their defense to stop this ball club. I know they are delighted with the play of a couple of rookies up front, particularly the young man, number 2 draft pick, by the name of Dirty, and I say that affectionately. He is a rookie by the name of Sylvester Hicks.
Well, Sylvester Hicks leads the team in sacks. He's the man they depend on. He's only a rookie. He's got another rookie at the right end, and he's got another rookie in the middle. So it's going to be exciting for me to see if Kansas City can get to Zorn.
Paul, this afternoon here at Kansas City, the Seahawks of Seattle will be taking a close-up look at that wing T offense of Kansas City's Marv Levy, and we discussed it earlier. I get the feeling you are not one of the great fans of that wing T offense.
I'm really not. I just don't see how a team, if you get behind, can catch up with the wing T. You have to throw the football. About 4 weeks ago, I did the Kansas City-Pittsburgh game. In the game, it was 20-3 at halftime. Pittsburgh was ahead. I said on the air, if Kansas City wants to get back in this football game, they have to throw the football. Now, into that game, Livingston threw the ball, I think, 86 times. In that game, he threw 28 times. They almost came back and won. Last week, he threw 27 times. They almost won against San Diego. They have to throw the ball instead of controlling it.
This offense that was virtually abandoned by the National Football League some 20 years ago. Kansas City Chiefs have been utilizing it, and as we mentioned, the end result, record of 2 up and 9 down. That about wraps things up for NFL 78. The executive producer of NFL 78 is Don Ohlmeyer. Today's show was produced by Don McGuire. Directed by Steve Rosen. Technical director Sal Magida. And our associate director, Mary Buda. Coming up next, here at Arrowhead Stadium on a cool, crisp day in Kansas City, Missouri, the Seahawks of Seattle, the Chiefs of Kansas City.
Out of the end zone. Now it's a touchback. They had it at first for a touchback and let the ball go out. And the Chargers blew a scoring chance. Bauer fumbled the ball in the end zone. He was hit, I think, before he got to the goal line.
Well, this is an unbelievable muff, but it's one that really doesn't hurt the defense. Bauer, you can see he might have gone in with the ball had he kept control of it. Now as we come over, Phil Weiss looks like he has the ball. As he rolls over, it leaves his grasp, but when it goes out of the end zone, it doesn't matter. They still get the ball on the 20. Here goes Bauer trying to struggle into the end zone. Sutherland makes the stop, or Matt Blair made the stop, created the fumble, and they've got a turnover.
Oh, it's still 7-7. Vikings threw an interception in the San Diego end zone when they were threatening. Now San Diego coughs it up for a touchback. Nothing. Oh, a yard or so for Ricky Young. The impetus was by the attacking team. And that's why it's the touchback. The ball, the impetus putting the ball in the end zone was by the team on the offense. Vikings ball on their 21. The 2-minute warning is flashed to each bench. And the score is 7-7. Wobbly one away. Handled by Fuller. He fumbles it. Goes down on the ball on his 42-yard line, where the Chargers put the ball in play. I wonder what the temperature in San Diego is today. Might be a little warmer than here. I'd like to bet on it. 34-yard punt.
You're a real gambler.
Coming up at halftime, NFL 78. We'll have all the up-to-date scores and highlights of what's happened so far. Now let's see what Fouch does with his ball club. 1:35 to go in the half. Sends him out. He's got backs and everybody out. That pass broken up. There's a flag down. The pass was intended at the 40-yard line to Charlie Joyner, and he was surrounded by 3 purple-shirted Vikings.
You almost got the feeling, Curt, that the Vikings were in the Chargers huddle because he was the only man in the area that Dan was throwing to. There were 3 defenders there. He didn't run any backs out of the backfield to take any of the pressure off. Threw it pretty well, but there was nobody to throw it to.
Artie Owens is going to replace Charlie Joyner, the man that was knocked down on the last play. Chargers have a first down at the Viking 40-yard line with 1.5 minutes left to play in the first half, and the game tied 7-all. That was right down the middle. It's complete to Klein, the tight end. He's having trouble keeping his footing today after he catches the ball. He stumbles over his feet. But he has what appears to be another first down. It's on the 29-yard line now at the Vikings. First down. San Diego does not take the timeout. Hurry up huddle. That pass broken up at the 11-yard line, and that is a legal play. Tom Hannon coming in there, going for the ball along with the receiver, Artie Owens.
It looked like the same pattern that Fouts threw to Joyner a while ago. This time he threw it to Artie Owens, who's replacing him. And the same pattern developed. There were three purple shirts with one receiver. And I think if he tries it one more time, Bryant's going to pick it off.
Joyner has come in as a wide receiver, replacing Artie Owens. Jim Marshall comes in at defensive right end and relieves Randy Holloway, a rookie. 19-year veteran relieving a rookie. It is second down and 10 for San Diego on the 29-yard line of the Vikings. Flag is down. The pass incomplete to Jefferson. Flag was dropped at the line of scrimmage at the snap of the ball. The game, for the most part, is we've had a paucity of penalties. Offside against San Diego. They'll talk it over with the Vikings. This telecast presented by authority of the National Football League. It's intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Vikings and the National Football League is prohibited. The offside charged against Charlie Joyner, who lined up offside as a wide receiver.
And I think oftentimes you'd see Minnesota take that penalty, but they know Rolf Bernischke is really a little sick right now, and his range has diminished some.
Third down and 10 for the Chargers. Bernischke's had some stomach problems. He's lost weight. He's cut his strength down. Third and 10. Miles was good protected. That pass was at the line of scrimmage. Nearly intercepted, not quite. Fourth down for the Chargers. They have just blown a touchdown on a fumble into the end zone. And now they're stymied on fourth down and 10.
And you see Fouts, he's a little hot because Duck White got up and put his hand on the ball. He had Lydell Mitchell running clear past the line of scrimmage. Could have been a big gainer, but you must get it past those defensive linemen.
They're lining up. They don't send the field goal man in.
Nope.
I think they just think it's too long for him in his weakened condition. Joyner and Jefferson, the wide receivers. 54 seconds remaining in the first half. Tie game, 7-all. There it is. Flags are down. The ball skids away from the receiver. And that again is Klein, who lost his foot. We have a holding call, I think, against the Chargers. Klein falls down again. He's having trouble.
It must be a little bit slippery in the middle of that field. Generally, you see the slippery spots on the sidelines, but all the players are falling in the middle of the field. It leads me to believe it's got to be a little bit mushy down there.
Russ Washington was caught holding. The Vikings decline it. The loss of down comes to the front. That was fourth down, and the Vikings have the ball. They stop San Diego on the Viking 29-yard line. To the sideline. To the 35-yard line. The clock keeps moving. Sammy White trying to get out of bounds, couldn't do it. Now the Vikings call timeout. They have 2 timeouts left. It is second down, 4 to go. Vikings ball on their own 35, or 36 will make it. 41 seconds remaining to play in the first half, and the game tied at 7-all. An important game for both teams. Rollout pattern. Short toss is complete. Out of bounds, Bob Tucker. The tight end took it out of bounds for a first down and stopped the clock 30. That only took 4 seconds.
And he's got about 6 more of those before he gets it all the way down the field. And he's got plenty of time to score. He knows it. He's not going to be in a hurry. And sooner or later in this drive, he'll go down the field. You just don't know when.
Remember, Thanksgiving Day, Denver and Detroit. Lions are playing good offensive ball right now. They're out against the Raiders today. And we saw Denver beat Cleveland, John and I, last Sunday. That should be an interesting game. NBC will carry that game on Thanksgiving Day. Parkington pass out of bounds. Little pushing around there. Bob Tucker was unhappy with number 50. Done good. 32 seconds in the first half. Second down, 10. Seven to 7. They send White to the right. The shot left. Deep drop by Fran. That pass is complete and then a fumble. Now they may just call it incomplete.
That was a good call. He never did have control of the ball. He was hit just as he touched it, and trying to grab it with three people trying to grab you is a tough trick indeed.
Watch it here, and you can tell that he really didn't have possession and control. Do the acts common to football.
Horn and Good both pursuing from one side, Woodrow Lowe from the other. Never did have it.
That's the refinement of control or possession. And when you have control, you can do the acts that would be common to that situation. Spin, fake, turn direction. But he just didn't have control of it. Third down and 10. They're going to sack him, and they dump him. He fumbles the ball. San Diego picked it up, but the whistle had blown dead as the forward motion of target and stop when they wrapped him up. Gary Johnson and Leroy Jones were in there to penetrate. Brings up a fourth down, and the Vikings will punt with 17 seconds remaining. They're all grouping up there. And they're in there after him. They don't get to him, though. They kick it short. Wobbling around, and time is out. That's the end of the first half in Bloomington, Minnesota. We have a tie game.
Moments ago at Shea Stadium with the score tied at 10, the Patriots run this sweep. 58, Pete Brock out in front. 23, Horace Ivory with the ball. Cuts in, then back out. The Patriots on an 11-yard touchdown by Ivory go up 16-10 at Shea over the Jets. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to NFL 78. I'm Brian Gumbel. Mike Adamley is in our highlight center. We're going to get you caught up on all the action of week number 12, including highlights. But first, let's go live to Shea Stadium. Join Charlie Jones and Len Dawson.
Well, he's winding up, bringing that ball way down around his knee, which is not a good thing to do. But you can see that there's no way that you can throw over these big defensive linemen. I mean, they're just too tall.
This is Charlie Jones, Len Dawson, Shea Stadium. New England leading the Jets 16-10. Jets has the football. Matt Robinson is replacing injured Richard Todd. Pass is complete. Jerome Barkham. Steve King was there for the defense. Barkham goes out at about the 42-yard line. So it'll be third down and a yard.
Boy, that was a perfect throw because great coverage by 52 Steve King. The ball was right on the money, right next to the sidelines where Barkham could make the catch and stay in bounds. The first pass was not a very good one, but this one was excellent. You can see the good coverage there. Look at that. Great moves by Barkham, keeping both feet in bounds.
Both tight ends are in. Clark Gaines is in. Short yardage. Third down 1. Kevin Long. First down Jets. 44-yard line. Minutes left to go in the ball game. New England leading 16-10.
And don't forget about that blocked extra point.
Looming larger and larger. Brings up two factors. One, a touchdown at extra point gives you the lead. Number two, don't overlook 2 field goals.
Well, the Jets have to get something going. That's the big first down for Matt Robinson. He needed that one.
Here's the double wing. Both tight ends. Play action.
Way up top. Way up top. Way up top.
Just tie it up. Robinson for Wesley Walker. Beating Claiborne and Hayes. 56 yards. And Wesley Walker was captured.
I said earlier you can contained this guy for a while, but he has the ability to break the big one. And here he is. Here comes speed. Mike Hayes has got great speed. Wesley Walker has more. Great throw, great catch. The ball game is tied. The extra point coming up, and we said, remember the blocked extra point.
Well, here's the applause for our timing. And then if the Jets do make that extra point, they'll take the lead 17-16. We might note that, as you noted, Robinson was in there quarterbacking because Richard Todd re-injured his right shoulder. Okay, two teams with winning streaks on the line are playing in Minnesota. The Chargers have won 3 in a row, the Vikings 4 in a row. It's 13-7 in the fourth period. Let's check in with Mike Adamle and get some highlights in this game. Been a good ball game, Mike.
Very good. You know, during the offseason, Bryant, there was a very big trade. The Minnesota Vikings trade away all-pro guard Ed White. He has done a super job for San Diego, opening up big holes in the Viking defensive line. But Tarkington was his usual masterful self in the first quarter. Here he hits Ricky Young for touchdown #1 to make it 7-0 for the Vikings. But San Diego behind a long, good running attack, and Hank Bauer here scores to make it 7-7. Dan Fouts trips on this play in the second half, but finds John Jefferson. Boy, they taught him well at Arizona State. They missed the extra point. It's 13-7. That missed extra point will be a factor as this game wears on. Once again, a great job by Ed White, the all-pro offensive guard for the San Diego Chargers, once of the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay, Mike. The Cardinals jumped out to a 24-0 lead today, but they've since come back to the pack. They are still out in front of the Redskins, though, 27-17. Theismann has thrown for 2 scores, and Hart has matched that performance. The Jets did, in fact, kick the extra point, so they are now out in front of the Patriots, 17-16, thanks to that 56-yard strike to Wesley Walker that we saw. Very quickly now, the Giants in the fourth period out in front of the Eagles by a score of 17-6. Tampa Bay leading Buffalo. This one is in the fourth period, 17-3. Ricky Bell has injured his knee in that ball game. New Orleans, Dallas, it's 14-7 Dallas at the half. Seattle, Kansas City, 10-3 at the half. Seattle, Cleveland leading Baltimore by 4, and Atlanta over Chicago. We've still got a second half of football to come, but first, this special report from NBC.
NBC News special report. Here from Washington is NBC News correspondent Douglas Kiker.
Good afternoon. An ambush yesterday in the small South American nation of Guyana. 5 Americans are known dead, and at least 8 others are wounded. The dead, California Congressman Leo Ryan, NBC News correspondent Don Harris, NBC News cameraman Bob Brown, shown here on the right, and on the left, NBC News sound man Stephen Sung, who was wounded. Also dead, photographer Gregory Robinson of the San Francisco Examiner, and Patricia Park, a member of which Congressman Ryan was investigating. Details are still sketchy, but here is what we know as of now. Ryan went to Guyana to investigate a controversial religious sect formerly based in San Francisco. He was accompanied by the newsmen and by 15 others, including attorney Mark Lane, who is still reported as missing. Earlier yesterday, Congressman Ryan left Georgetown, Guyana, to inspect a jungle settlement of the People's Temple Church. According to reports, some members of this sect are being held against their wills and subjected to forced labor and physical abuse. The shooting occurred when Ryan tried to take several sect members away on a chartered plane at the airport at Port Kayatuma. One of them pulled out a gun and started shooting, then several others pulled up in a flatbed truck and opened fire. In an interview with Don Harris before the trip, Grace Stone, a former member of the People's Temple Church, talked about the physical punishment sect leaders administered at the settlement.
I've seen people get beaten so badly that both of their eyes were swollen shut. I've seen people with broken noses. I've seen people get hit and knocked into a piano and get a big lump on their head. And also, I've seen these same people not allowed to go to a hospital to get treatment for this. Well, he'd go on kicks. For a while, it was the paddle. Then it was into boxing matches. And what he would do is, like, let's say you were going to be boxed. He would take you, and he'd have someone equivalent to you or bigger beat you up. And then he'd had 5 fresh people in a row. So when that person tired, he got another fresh person to box you.
And Congressman Ryan's aide, Joe Holsinger, said he warned Ryan not to make the trip because of the danger involved.
Did you consider warning him against going?
I did warn him against going because I was afraid for his safety. But Leo has always gone to investigate things by himself. He had himself put in Folsom Prison for 8 days in 1970 to check on, in maximum security, to check on conditions in prison. He taught school for 2 weeks in Watts after the Watts riot to check on conditions there, and it's part of his pattern of representing his constituents, to go and find out for himself.
This afternoon, the State Department said there are alarming rumors, but no confirmation, that members of the People's Temple Church, terrified over the possibility that their sect might be destroyed by this awful event, are undertaking mass suicide in Guyana. There'll be further details on NBC's nightly news to be seen on most of these stations. I'm Douglas Kiker, NBC News, Washington.
This has been an NBC News special report and has come to you from Washington.
Back deep is Kevin Miller, the rookie from the University of Louisville, number 87 for the Vikings. And the kick is a short one that is going to go dead on the 28-yard line. They're all diving for it. Robert Miller and Steve Craig are tied in. Wind chill factor as computed by Joe Costanza with 3 adding machines. 2 computers, comes out to 0 degrees right now with a slight breeze. It's about 5 to 8 miles an hour. The wind chill here is 0 degrees in Bloomington. Their ball. Hank Bauer. Bauer, no, it's Woods carried up the middle. Carl Eller sliced in. Coming up, Sperry NFL report when this game is over. Chargers now. See that long tube? That's hot air blowing, and the players are there getting their feet warm.
I can remember years ago we played Minnesota, and Bud Graham wouldn't allow his players to have one, but he didn't restrict them from coming over to our bench and using it.
Second down, 8 to go. Bounce handoff. Woods at the 10, at the 15, cuts back, is at the 20-yard line. And he may have himself a first down. He had a fine block out in front by Ed White, the right guard, number 67.
It is
Tom Hannon, the free safety, made the tackle.
Curt, it is a first down, and it's a very big drive because field position may be the important ingredient in this half. I think it's going to be hard to move the ball either way offensively, and to get it out of this hole can save themselves some points if they don't even score.
First down for the Chargers on the 20-yard line in their own territory. Game tied 7-7. A little over 9 minutes remain to play in the third quarter. Flurries of snow, 15 degrees above zero. Fouts pass to Bauer at the 20, 25. Bauer keeps going, and they spot him out on the 32-yard line, and he just shook off Nate Wright, the left cornerback, got an extra 3 or 4 yards out of it.
We mentioned earlier that San Diego may be winning the game up front, defensively and offensively in the line. And when you're doing that, you can execute things like screens and draws, and you really get your pick of the litter when you're doing the job up front, and I think San Diego's doing the best job right now.
First down again for the Chargers. They're on their 32-yard line. That's Bauer for a couple of yards. Chargers should be right home on natural grass here today, even though it's snowing and it's getting slippery, because San Diego plays on a natural surface in its home stadium.
Here's Jeff. He's getting caught up in the wash. He does stand his ground, but there were several people beat him to the play. Doug Sutherland's been in on most of them, and this was just another indication.
Second down, 9 for the Chargers on their 33. Dan Fouts so far is 6-14. Tarkington is 20 out of 29. Flag is down. The Vikings may be offside. They go through the play. It's blocked at the line of scrimmage. So Sutherland jumped. 69, the left tackle.
He did.
Offside against the Vikings. We have a sad note to report here. Jocko Nelson, coach of the linebackers in his 8th season with the Vikings, died in a hospital about a half hour ago, recuperating from a previous heart attack. Nelson played college football, began his coaching career at Utah State, University of Colorado, University of Michigan. Second down. 3 to go. And the first man through got the handoff. Bauer, and he stopped cold by Jim Marshall. Bud Grant always describes Jim Marshall, the most amazing physical man he's ever known. He says all he has to do is run around the goalpost to start the season. He doesn't even have to go to training camp.
He's ready at all times.
Weighs 240. They went to Dallas. Remember when they beat the Cowboys a 3 weeks ago? It was his birthday. They gave him a birthday cake on the plane. There's a flag down. Once again, Hank Bauer ripping it. We may have a face mask on this one. There's the score. Baltimore 10, Cleveland nothing. Bert Jones must be playing.
Curt, you were mentioning they gave Marshall a birthday cake on the plane a couple weeks ago, and they gave him one with his actual birthday rather than his 40th.
Now they said, happy birthday, number 42, you liar. He says he's 40.
If he's 40, he started playing when he was about 19.
Number 63 on the offense.
Well, they've called holding on this one. I thought they'd grabbed Bauer around the mask. They did. Somebody missed it out there. It's back to the 28 now. Mitchell is in and Bauer is out. So now the Chargers have a 3rd and 13 from their 28. They're sending him out. Klein, the tight end, has the ball. Comes up the sideline, and he steps out.
Set it up. Just short of the first down.
Just short, right short of his 40-yard line. He was trying to do the tightrope walk down the sideline and couldn't do it.
Fouts is trying to go down the field to Jefferson on the play. However, Klein is a little outlet receiver. He can't find anybody open down the field. He comes off to Klein. Had the field been about 6 inches wider, I do believe he'd have picked up the first down. He stepped out the stride before we could see him.
That's Klein's 5th reception in the game. He's been the leading receiver. Punt formation. Jeff West will do the kicking. Kevin Miller is the punt returner. A high spiral right down the middle. Miller backpedals to the 19. They're getting some coverage on this. And they snow him under. As we told you, the Chargers ranked last in the league of covering punt returns this year. But they've done a good job today. A punt of 41 yards and no return. We'll be back here with a score still tied 7-all.
Hurting all year, but you'll notice the conditions are such that the 2 punt returners are back on the 40-yard line. Now that's on Minnesota's, so they're only about 34 yards deep.
Greg Coleman's averaged 32 yards a punt in the game. Gets a good kickoff. Fuller backpedaling to the 48. It's the Chargers. 50, 45, 40, 35. And Fuller, right direct line. Cracks that one for about 20 yards and puts the Chargers in great field position. A 49-yard punt. We'll be back here in Bloomington, Minnesota with a score tied 7-7. Over the 30 and to the 25-yard line is Don Woods, following some good blocking up front.
And this is where it's very key for the defense of Minnesota to hang in there. Sutherland and Eller have to handle it. They're coming right straight at the 2 of them. Ed White slips his block from the middle, gets by Duck White, picks up Blair, and they run right over the top of him.
Coryell is substituting freely now in the backfield. Bauer replaces Bo Matthews at running back. 2nd down, 2 to go. San Diego on the Viking 25. The game is tied 7-7. That is Woods. Woods dances, and that's just what it was, doing a disco to the 21 as he was slip sliding. And it'll be a first down for San Diego.
I didn't know you knew what that was.
I'm a great disco man.
All right, down to the left side, we can see good offensive line surge again. They're moving him back onto the other side of the line of scrimmage. Jeff Seaman forces Woods to go outside. As he does so, he gets away from the linebacker Blair, picks up a first down, and the Chargers are on the move.
Now the Vikings fans are getting uneasy. They're running out of the I formation. Stunning there. Look at Bauer go. Bauer had a quick hole. He's still going. Bauer on extra effort by himself. Moves to the 11-yard line of the Vikings.
Well, generally when you're in the I formation, you're giving it to the back. Don Woods, this time they had a quick opener to Bauer, who gets past the line of scrimmage with good blocking, then picks up about 6 extra yards on his own, and they may have another first down.
Hank Bauer of Cal Lutheran. Watch him go here. He's just one of those tough kids that has hung on through his own determination. He was cut by the Cowboys. He'd have been long gone, but he's got something inside of him that the coaches liked, and you can see it here in some of these plays today. He's picked up a couple of first downs for him, and this was a big one, and he has the first down. On the 11-yard line of Minnesota, San Diego had the ball in the second period. On the 3-yard line, Bauer fumbled it through the end zone. It cost him a touchdown, and now they're marching again. The Jets have tied New England 10-all in the third period with a Pat Lay 45-yard field goal. 2:51 to play in the third quarter.
The amazing thing is the Jets can get to within 1 game of New England if they beat them today.
New England rolled over them at New England. 51 points they scored on them. Different day to day. It always is in the NFL. First down for the Chargers on the Viking 11-yard line. Jefferson was going in motion. Bauer fumbled the ball, but the whistle flew dead on the 9. Vikings have it, but the whistle had already blown. First downs are even. Minnesota has 14, and San Diego has 14. Yeah, the statistics are about as even as the score. Atlanta on the move. They won 5 in a row. Bartowski just hit Jim Mitchell. He's tied in for 7, and the Falcons lead Chicago 7-0. The poor Bears have lost 8 in a row. Second down, 8. San Diego threatening. Cutting back is Woods, and he's hammered down at the 11-yard line for a loss by Jeff Seaman, the middle linebacker. Carl Eller forced the play, the defensive left end.
And Seaman, who is really the heart of the Minnesota defense, pursues so well, and he's a big man at about 242, 43 pounds. He's strong, he's agile, he's quick. He's just exactly what you want as a middle linebacker.
John, I saw him in 2 magnificent Rose Bowl games when Stanford upset Michigan and Ohio State. Seaman was a standout in the famed Rose Bowl in Pasadena. Bernarski is taking off his warm-up jacket. The field goal kicker. Bounce falls down, but gets up, throws a pass.
That's a touchdown.
It is a touchdown for San Diego. J.J., the rookie, got it. Jefferson, a phenomenal rookie, and they told us he could be surrounded, get the ball to him, and he'll catch it. He just did it.
He's blind going across the middle. He had every reason to put his attention on some other aspect than the ball. However, Fouts gets out of the pocket slowly, comes up, finally finds Jefferson, throws it right between 2 defenders.
That's the 8th touchdown for rookie John Jefferson, who's going to be a great one, who already is. Very smart player. Marvelous pair of hands and knows where he is all the time. The kick hits the upright. It's no good. The kick is no good. It hit the upright, the right upright. San Diego has the lead by a score of 13-7. We'll be back for the San Diego kickoff right after this message. Twins gave them a big advantage. They took it in for a touchdown. This is a low kick, fair catch call on the 44-yard line by Pete Shaw, the free safety. Where it'll be the Chargers' ball. We want to remind you, next Sunday, doubleheader day on NBC. It all starts at 12:30 Eastern Time, NFL 78. Then a good one, the Jets at the Orange Bowl against Miami. At 1:30, NFL 78, San Diego at Kansas City. At 3:30 Eastern Time, NFL 78 with Cincinnati at Houston, New England at Baltimore, Seattle at Oakland. Second games of the doubleheader, one of those games. And the big one across the country. Don Woods is jammed out of bounds on the 46-yard line of the Chargers. And the clock stops, 49 seconds to go in the third quarter. Nate Wright drove him out, the left cornerback. Second down, 7 for San Diego. They're in the lead, 13-7. Bud Grant. He's had a superior coaching record, outstanding up at Canada and here in the NFL of the United States. Fouts has the time and misses his tight end, Bob Klein. It'll be 3rd and 7 for San Diego on their own 46. Tampa Bay leading Buffalo 17-3 in the 3rd quarter. Tom Dempsey a field goal. The score here 13-7 San Diego over the Minnesota Vikings.
And this is a big drive and a big play. If San Diego can keep their drive alive, they can get down there in a position for at least 3 more points. It's going to be hard for anybody to score that many.
Out they go. Short pass is complete and out of bounds in Viking territory. The Viking 48 is the tight end Bob Klein, who has just caught his 6th pass of the game.
But short of a first down.
That's twice he's done that, this short.
It is 4th down.
4th down, 1.5 yards to go. Warming up now is Bob Lee, the backup quarterback. Jeff West will be in punt formation for San Diego. And Kevin Miller is back deep. They should try and get this one off. And now they're going to be kicking against the wind. They should have got that kick off. They had about an 8 or 10 mile-an-hour wind, and now they'll have to kick against the wind when they have a 4th down to open the 4th period. All right.
And very good pressure on the play by Leroy Jones and Louis Kelcher that forced Francis to throw the ball quite a bit before he intended to. As a result, Foreman had not really turned around and was not in a good position to look for the pass. Francis overthrew him a little. Stringer was in the right spot, and San Diego's got a turnover.
A marvelous opportunity now for the Chargers. They're ahead 13-7. They have the ball on the Viking 30. Don Woods is being hit behind the line, slips away, hit again, and goes down for a loss at the 32-yard line. Marshall missed him first as he chased him across the field. And he's finally nailed by Doug Sutherland and Phil Wise, the safety man. They lost 2 yards. 2nd and 12 for San Diego on the Minnesota 32. We've just opened the 4th quarter. The Chargers ahead of the Vikings 13-7. The pass. That is intercepted by Minnesota. Wise has it.
I think the play is still alive.
Bill Wise brings it back, fighting his way back upfield. Wise took it away from the receiver.
Number 1, Curt. Bobby Bryant was in perfect position. He's out there all alone, looked like a perfect defense to throw a little turn-in pattern on. However, he knew where he was weak. He played the ball all the way, just jumped in front of the receiver, grabbed the interception, and just as he started to take it in, it fell out of his hand. It was a little suspect as to whether he actually had control of it. They ruled he did, and Minnesota's got it again.
Get him, Phil. Wise. Well, they exchange interceptions, and Fouts is injured as he's helped off the field. Could be a blow to the Chargers. He's taking it from their 36. James Harris's toss is no good. Out of bounds. Charlie Joyner was juggling the ball as he went out.
Well, if he was juggling it as he went out, obviously he did not have control, and it was a correct call.
And we had a flag down, John, on the play, too. Holding, I think.
He runs a nice pattern. Harris puts the ball the only place it can be thrown. He's given a good push. I don't know. I didn't see it quite the same way as the official.
Carry a man out of bounds. If you do, he doesn't have to have both feet in. It's a completed pass. Now the Vikings have to decide whether to decline the penalty and bring up a 4th down or accept the 10-yard penalty. Looks like that's what they're going to do.
By the defense, number 66.
That's on Billy Shields holding the left tackle. They push him 10 yards back to the 26-yard line of San Diego, but they give him another 3rd down. So it's 3rd down and 21 for the Chargers. They're ahead in this game, 13-7. They were a slight underdog. They've won 3 in a row, 4 of their last 5. The Vikings have won 4 in a row. So you have 2 teams who have been doing very well in the last month. going at it today in a tight game. Very cold here, 15 above zero, and the field is getting slipperier as it's freezing up. A quick swing pass out to Bauer. Bauer runs to the sideline and goes out of bounds on the 33-yard line of San Diego. Now it'll be 4th down. 27-17 in the 3rd quarter. Pocket has just booted a field goal for the Cardinals. Cardinals have won 3 in a row. New England is behind the Jets, 17-16. Matt Robinson, a long one to Wesley Walker. Boy, he's the bomb kid, isn't he, Walker? Caught one for 56 yards. The Jets lead 17-16.
Matt Robinson has done a job since he's come in for Richard Todd.
Punt formation, Jeff West to do the kicking. Kevin Miller will return. Low snap. They got it away. Miller on the 36. Miller to the 40. And he has his head torn off with the 45 of the Vikings, where it will be their ball. 9.5 to play in the game.
And they don't have a stat that says the kicker has to pick up the ball on a short hop, but that saved a big turnover.
We'll be back, 13-7.
And San Diego's been very fortunate because they've fumbled 3 times and recovered their own fumble. A turnover right now can dictate the outcome of this game, and both teams trying to hang on.
San Diego has been hurting itself this year with turnover. Woods again. Knocked down to the 36-yard line. He's hit there by 59, Matt Blair, the left linebacker. Let me say this, fumbles and interceptions, and then you take takeaways, which are recovering fumbles or intercepting the other club's pass. San Diego's -13 coming into this game. The Vikings were +3. Anything on the plus side means you have an aggressive, alert team. New Orleans leads the NFC with +17. Miami, the AFC, with a +17. And takeaways over turnovers. 3rd down and 9. James Harris. Out it goes to Hank Bauer. He comes up to the 40, and he's short of a 1st down. The Chargers will have to punt from their own line of scrimmage, 43-yard line. Bill Wise was the man that stopped him along the sideline. Curt Gowdy and John Brodie here. Bloomington, Minnesota. The score 13-7 San Diego. The Chargers scored in the 3rd quarter to break the tie. They missed the extra point. They hit the upright. Time remaining 6 minutes and 50 seconds. Again, Jeff West in punt formation. Kevin Miller will be the safety man. Towering spiral. Fair catch call for on the 21-yard line by Kevin Miller.
From the time the ball was snapped, he was gone to the left side. It happens when the defense goes back trying to form a wall to set up a return. This time, they just have to hustle to pick up the punter.
17-yard run on 4th down by Greg Coleman. All right, they have 3 wide receivers on the field, less than 5 minutes to play. 13-7 in favor of San Diego. Targeting under the gun, rolls it out, and now throws to Foreman. Foreman stripped up at the 38-yard line, and the Vikings suddenly open up. Pete Shaw tackles Foreman at the 38-yard line of San Diego.
And Tarkington puts this ball right where it has to be thrown under very adverse conditions. You see Dean forces him out. Louis Kelcher forces him out. Johnson's in pursuit. All 4 of the down linemen got good penetration. Tarkington throws the ball right in between 2 people, and Woodrow Lowe is hurt.
1st down. And that blocked extra point now is looming bigger. The one that hit the upright. There's a slant pattern. Armand Rashad at the 30. He won't have the 1st down, but he picks up 9 yards on the play. The Vikings are fumbling away their chances. That's their 3rd turnover in this half. San Diego takes over on their 32.
Curt, again, they just stuffed him right at the line of scrimmage, and when a running back has no chance, as cold as it is, that ball has a way of removing itself.
Targeting over there, the gloves on. San Diego trying to protect a 6-point lead. They have won 5 and lost 6 this year. They've won their last 3 in a row. They give it off to Don Woods, who's rammed at the 33-yard line by Fred McNeil. The Chargers were favored to fight Oakland and Denver to be a strong contender. They got off to a stumbling start. Tommy Protho resigned. Coryell was brought in. And they suddenly came to life, playing about as well as people thought they would with the material they had, which is very good lately.
Might be the best.
Second down, 9 to go. Oakland's won 7 and lost 4. Denver's won 7 and lost 4. San Diego could be right in here and keep winning. Look out. Oh, that was a dangerous pass. It's caught by Jefferson. Jefferson caught the ball. Oh, he's some player, this Jefferson.
How he could stay on the sideline and not just run right out of bounds after he caught the ball is amazing in itself.
Well, I want to tell you, that was a dangerous pass, though.
It was a well-thrown ball, and it's a good thing it was, or it may have been picked off.
James Harris playing in place of Faust. There are the standings. You see, San Diego holds here. They are 6 and 6. Denver playing Green Bay today, 7 and 4. Oakland 7 and 4. San Diego could be right in there. Next week, Seattle plays Oakland. They beat Oakland up at Seattle. That'll be one of the second games of our doubleheader next Sunday on NBC. They're measuring for the first down, and the Chargers have it at their 42-yard line. J.J. Ron Jefferson has just given him a first down. When that ball hits his hands, he's got it. He made a catch against Arizona his junior year that they put on the cover of the media guide. He was lying parallel above the ground about a yard in the end zone. They still call it the catch down there at Tempe. Short yardage on that play. Chargers are just trying to move out some time now. 2:35 to go. The Chargers ahead 13-7. Both teams have their full allotment of timeouts. That was Don Woods. On the 44-yard line of San Diego. Second down, 8 to go. What's happened in this half is that San Diego defense has taken over. They have stymied the Viking attack.
Both defenses have done a pretty good job.
Running out of the I formation. Tailback Woods has the ball. Woods spins forward to the 46-yard line of the Chargers. And there is the 2-minute warning. That's all that's remaining in this game. An official's timeout. We'll be back for the last 2 minutes with the score still San Diego 13 and Minnesota 7. Down, 6 to go on the Charger 46. Last 2 minutes of the game. James Harris' pass is complete for a first down to the 46-yard line of the Vikings. It's caught there by Lydell Mitchell.
And the funny thing is, Harris brought Lydell Mitchell into the ball game for that one play. Everybody in the house had to know he came in for some reason. Certainly wasn't to get his hands warm.
The Vikings have called timeout to stop the clock. They have 2 timeouts remaining.
Very impressive since he's come in replacing Dan Fouts in this ball game. I think he's hit 4 out of 4 under very adverse conditions.
Good to have that backup man, isn't it?
I'm not sure he is a backup man.
Sheriff number 1, let's call it. First down. Handoff. Straight ahead they go. First man through was Don Woods. Watch this San Diego line charging. Here's another timeout charge to the Vikings.
Ed White, Russ Washington, Masick, Wilkerson. All these guys have been on the attack all day long. They haven't gained as many yards offensively on the ground as their offensive line has played well.
They really have. Up front is where it's counted today. Their defense has been tough in the second half. Only 1 touchdown scored since midway of the first period. It was tied at the half. The Chargers took the lead in the third quarter. They scored on an 11-yard pass late in the third quarter. Dan Fouts to the rookie, John Jefferson. That's been it in the second half. Now the Vikings are down to 1 timeout. Harris is 4 out of 4 since he replaced the injured Fouts. Joe Costanza today, we want to thank him for his research and statistics. Curt Gowdy and John Brodie here with 1 minute and 47 seconds remaining. San Diego leading 13-7. They have the ball on the Viking 43-yard line. It'll be a second down, 7. It was tied at halftime, 7-all. 1 touchdown and a missed extra point is all that has been produced in the second half. Second down, 7. Chargers trying to hang on. This would be their 4th win in a row if they do. Woods with the ball. Woods runs for a first down as he goes to the 33. The Chargers have been better on the ground today than the Vikings. And the Vikings have just used their last timeout.
And there is no way that they can get the ball back if San Diego can just hold on to it for 3 downs. They can hold this lead, Curt, and every indication is that they will. Coryell could find his team playing the last ball game of the season against Houston to get into a playoff spot.
That was the ground game. You saw it's way in favor of San Diego. There's your score. Clock shows 1:36 to go. And now they're saying something to the Charger side of the field. That's Coryell and on down to Grant. Maybe it's something about the clock.
And McKittrick still hasn't put a jacket on.
Oh.
It's not cold, is it, Bob?
He makes Woody Hayes and John Madden look like an amateur. Woody lately has been putting on stuff. We may see Woody in the Rose Bowl against USC. Plays Michigan, but may not too. Flag is down. The winner of the Michigan-Ohio State game next Saturday will play a very strong USC team in the Rose Bowl. They're talking about number 1. How about USC right up in there in the ratings? Although Penn State's undefeated. USC's lost only 1 game. Rose Bowl will be on NBC on January 1st. And the man that's done so much for the Rose Bowl, Leigh Leishman, will be honored as the Grand Marshal of the parade out there. The most fantastic parade. Second down, 1 for the Chargers. 1:31 to go. Flags are down once more. This is a stuttering ending now to the game. Clock stops with 1:27 to play. Tackle by Doug Sutherland. Vikings overly anxious to get in there and claw that ball loose, recover it, desperate. Charlie Joyner's being sent on the field. 13-7 San Diego. 1:27 to go. Just a simple offside.
Offsides on the defense. First down.
First down for the Chargers on the 18-yard line of the Vikings.
I think if I were Jim Harris in this position, he can run the ball 3 times just by downing it himself without handing it off. That would assure him of a win. I don't think I'd risk handing the ball off at this point.
You're right, John, because the Vikings have no more timeouts. And that's what they're going to do. Harris just falls down on the 21. The clock keeps moving. This has to be the most hopeless situation in the world if you're Bud Grant on the left and you're on defense out there in the field and watch the clock run out on you. No chance unless a miracle happens.
And this is about as long a period of time as I've ever seen anybody run the clock out. It's been stated so often that games are won and lost in the last 2 minutes or the last minute. They're running it out with 1:20 to go, and Minnesota doesn't have a chance.
55 seconds to go now. Long huddle by the Chargers. They come up. They're in the lead, 13-7. All the Vikings punch down there. And Harris just falls down again, and he's 24, and the clock keeps moving. Now we're down to 35 seconds remaining. A couple of big first downs for the Chargers along the way here in this last 2 minutes.
And Jim Harris came in and did a job for him when they needed it done, and that's a very tough thing to do, to come off the bench like he did and perform as well as he did.
George Pernicano's mustache will be bristling on the sideline, one of the owners. He's gone on the road a lot in recent years and come away without a win, but today they've got it. Down to 5, and here is a mild upset today. The San Diego Chargers have defeated the Minnesota Vikings. They've snapped the Viking 4-game streak. James Harris did a good job there, filling in for Faust, and the Chargers have a winning streak of their own going now. They have won 4 in a row, 5 of their last 6, and they have evened their record for the season at 6 wins and 6 losses. Bud Grant going off. Has to be disappointed because he had his club rolling. But he and Tarkenton both told Brodie and me before the game. In fact, Tarkenton said, we're playing a good squad, a very talented squad today that has finally found itself.
Everybody that plays San Diego looks at them that way. It seems like San Diego now looks at themselves that way. And I think they're in a pretty good position to get themselves in a shot to get in the playoffs.
Well, it'll be interesting. They're now 6-6. The Vikings are 7-5 and temporarily have dropped.
Winter finally came to the North Country last week, and in Minnesota, the fans couldn't have been happier. For this is Viking weather. And with the competition coming from mild and sunny San Diego in the form of the Chargers, observers figured it wouldn't take long for the icy winds to have an effect on the outsiders. The numbing cold did set the Chargers back as they committed 3 turnovers. But the Vikes showed no immunity to the elements as they lost the ball on 4 occasions. Some of the miscues could be attributed to the climate, others to a hard-hitting San Diego squad. The Vikings broke out on top as ex-Charger running back Ricky Young, number 34, took a Fran Tarkenton toss in for a first-period touchdown. Young caught 6 passes on the day to give him 68 for the season, most in the NFL. But this would be the only time Minnesota would score in the game. The Chargers tied things up soon after, then went ahead for good when quarterback Dan Fouts, fighting both the Viking pass rush and a slippery turf, found wide receiver John Jefferson, number 83. For the second consecutive week, the Fouts-Jefferson combination accounted for the winning touchdown as San Diego edged the Vikings 13-7. It was the Chargers' 4th straight victory, their longest winning streak since 1969.
Now let's turn our attention to yesterday's NFL highlights. The play, Shea Stadium, New York City. The New England Patriots coming in to go against the Jets, who are to be led for the first time in 7 weeks by Richard Todd, number 14, the quarterback. And it was 10-10 in the 4th quarter. Horace Ivory sweeping right. What a year he's been having. This one good for 11 yards and a touchdown. That gave the Pats a 16-10 lead. Conversion attempt was blocked on the very next series of plays. Matt Robinson in at quarterback now. Todd re-injured that collarbone. Robinson looking deep downfield. You've seen this combination before. Wes Walker, the second-year speedster from California. Touchdown. The Jets went ahead 17-16. But on the very next series of plays, curious chain of events. Pats had the ball, 1st and 10, the Jets 40. Grogan back to pass. The pass intended for 29, Harold Jackson. Watch closely. There's Jackson all alone. He drops it. And then, apparently, the slightest touch by Burgess Owens. But Owens called for a personal foul by the official. Burgess looked at the official in disbelief. Look at it again. No catch. The play over. And there's Burgess. Still, personal foul call. That set up a New England field goal. They went ahead, 19-17. This attempt by Leahy from 33 yards out with just seconds left. Sailed wide left. And so the Pats hung on for a 19-17 victory. So the Pats are at 9-3. San Diego at Minnesota. 11 inches of snow. How would you like that? San Diego coming from a warm climb, but not too disturbed by it. First quarter action, nothing. Fran Tarkenton back to pass. He rolls right, hits 34, the former Charger, Ricky Young, touchdown. Young's the leading receiver in the NFL. So the Vikes took a 7-0 lead. In the second quarter, it became 7-7.
But San Diego all day long had a hard time getting on track, and this play manifests that fact. Fouts handing off to Hank Bauer on the Minnesota 2-yard line. He goes off right tackle, collides with 41, Bo Matthews. After that, who's got the football? Very quickly, Bill Wise tries to get it, but loses number 29. And then, as San Diego pursues it, the ball goes out of the end zone, so it's an automatic touchback. Ed White grabbed it, but too late. Ed White, a former Vike. He's the one who was traded for Ricky Young. Now, 7-7 third quarter. San Diego ball, 3rd and 9, Minnesota 10. Dan Fouts retreats, falls down as you saw, then hits Johnny Jefferson. Touchdown, the kick failed. San Diego went on to win it, 13-7. They're a new and emerging team under Don Coryell. Soldier Field, Chicago. Atlanta with a winning streak of 5 straight. The Bears with a losing streak of 8 straight. Third quarter, Atlanta leading 7-3. Falcons ball, 4th and 7, their own 35. Johnny James punt blocked by 51. Bruce Aaron, he recovers it at the Falcon 11-yard line. Now, just 2 plays later, Chicago ball, 2nd and 1 at the Atlanta 2. 34, of course, Waller Payton, touchdown. And so the Bears went on to win it 13-7, break their 8-game losing streak, and break Atlanta's 5-game winning streak. They had a wild game at Candlestick Park. The Rams going against their neighborhood rivals, the 49ers. Fourth quarter action, 28-14, Los Angeles. Los Angeles kicking off. The ball taken in by number 30, Davey Williams. Look at that hole that opened for him there. The wedge quickly to the left sideline. And now high-stepping it all the way down the field. 89-yard kickoff return. Touchdown. And that made it 28-21. Later in the fourth quarter, fumble recovery. 49ers got the ball. 1st and 10, the Rams 41. Look at Paul Hoffer go. Number 36 having himself a big afternoon all the way downfield. Finally, he's ruled down at the 2-yard line. That set up the tying touchdown by Hoffer. The score went to 28-28. Less than 2 minutes remaining. Pat Hayden went to work. He hits Ron Jesse. Hits him 3 times in a row. There again. And always Ron Jesse seemed to be off by himself. So they got field goal position. And that means Frank Corral. He had beaten Philadelphia and Tampa Bay earlier in the season in the final seconds. Now he does it to San Francisco as the Rams win by the skin of their teeth, or by Frank Corral's shoelaces, 31-28 over the 49ers. RFK Stadium, Washington, D.C. The Cardinals, winners of 3 straight, coming in to play the stumbling Redskins. In the first quarter, 0-0. Mike Bragg punting. And he punts from their own 33, the Redskins, to Willard Harrell. Now watch Willard Harrell, 39, right past a sheath of blockers. Quick hole opening. And he goes virtually straight downfield. Nobody does this to Washington special teams. At least nobody had done it for 4 years. But Willard Harrell did it, and the Cards took a 7-0 lead, 70 yards for the touchdown. Later in the first quarter, the Cards threatening again. Jim Hart throwing to Mel Gray, 85. He deflects it to 84. Dave Steep, touchdown. And the Cardinals led 14-0. They moved that lead up to a stunning 24-0. In the second quarter, Washington started to come back. 1st and 10, their own 40. Joe Theismann hitting Danny Bugs, number 88. Now watch this. It's kind of cute. He backs in for an apparent touchdown, but he had been ruled out at the 15-yard line. Nonetheless, they started to come back. In the third quarter, they were trailing St. Louis 24-10. And Theismann was ready to strike again from the Cardinal 42. He throws the big bomb deep downfield to number 86, Johnny McDaniel. Touchdown, 24-17. But the Cards hung on for that victory. Texas Stadium, the New Orleans Saints, a tough team coming in to play the suddenly rolling Dallas Cowboys. 14-7, third quarter, Dallas ball, 2nd and 18 from the New Orleans 24. And Staubach to Billy Joe Dupree, touchdown, 21-7. In the fourth quarter, was still 21-7. Cowboys ball, 1st and 10, their own 26. 33 is Tony Dorsett. You see him get through that bundle of would-be tacklers. Nobody touched him. Now it's a sprint. And look at that. It's a foot race, and he is finally brought down after going 63 yards. That set up another pair of field goals, and Dallas won it. The tough Eagles against the Giants at Giant Stadium in New Jersey, and the Giants surprise, quickly taking a 7-0 lead in the first quarter. Then with 1st and 20 on the Eagles 30, still in the first quarter, Pisarcik throws deep into the end zone. All alone is Johnny Perkins. Touchdown. So the Giants roll to a 14-0 lead. Eagle comeback started with but 1:30 remaining in the first half. Eagles ball, 3rd and 4. Giants 8. Jaworski to Wilbert Montgomery. He burst through. Touchdown. The kick failed. It was 14-6 in the fourth quarter. 17-12 Giants. There's John McVay, the Giants head coach, looking on. Only 31 seconds left. No timeouts for the Eagles left. 3rd and 2 for the Giants at the 29. He handed off. Pisarcik did to nobody. The ball picked up by 46. Herman Edwards. Unbelievable. Touchdown. And so the Eagles won it 19-17. All Pisarcik had to do was take the ball and go to the ground. Time would have run out. But no, instead, the scene of unbelievable jubilation. Now another look. Right into the hip of Zonka. He didn't want the football. He didn't expect it. Bango. There it went. And so, Dick Vermeil had a victory beyond anyone's credulity. It couldn't have happened, but it did. Today, the Giants fired their offensive coordinator, Bob Gibson. He called the play.